Hello, and thanks for joining us. My name is Sam Dean, and I head up the tax risk management and governance function here at Grant Thornton UK. I'm delighted to be joined by my good friend and colleague from the other side of the world, Himi.
Thanks, Sam. Hello, my name is Himashini Veeratna, and I'm the head of financial services tax and also head up the ESG tax group at Grant Thornton, Australia.
So, this series looks at how important ESG has become and how tax can add value to your organisation's ESG commitments. In the previous videos, we've discussed the E and the S, and in this final video, and to wrap up the series, we're going to be discussing tax governance. So, Himi, why does this tax governance stuff matter?
Tax has always been a key driver of business change. For example, recent uptick in environmental taxes and tax benefits. Also, there's a mounting investor and stakeholder pressure. So, from a governance point of view, an ESG certified entity fundamentally means being a responsible corporate citizen. That means businesses are now expected to set out clear tax policies which align with their ESG commitments and follow them through. Now, in Australia, tax risk governance is an important aspect of what we do. Compliance with tax laws and filing tax returns and paying the right amount of tax is really critical from a governance point of view and applies to organizations of all sizes. Recently, in Australia, the ATO started to play a vital role in helping transparency and good corporate governance, which is within the ethos of ESG. The aim was to uplift business risk from back office to become a key responsibility of the directors as well as the board. Now, together, the directors, the management, and the board must show that the organization has an effective robust tax risk management and governance framework in place. A transparent tax policy can be a strong tool for companies to demonstrate the wider ESG contributions and also build public and stakeholder trust. Put simply, having a poor relationship with tax authorities, especially one which results in negativity and negative publicity as well, or naming and shaming, can significantly work against achieving your overall ESG goals. And there are increasing governance rules that businesses need to be aware of as well. Now, this brings me to a question. Sam, tell me, what are some examples of these governance rules? I know I mentioned at high level about Australia, but how about the others?
Thanks, Hemi. And as we know, tax governance isn't necessarily a new concept. Aspects of tax governance have been around for a long time, whether that's the US SOX regime, whether it's the UK Senior Accounting Officer regime, but it's an area that is continuing to evolve with changes in legislation having that growing focus on the importance of data, processes, controls, and governance. For example, the OECD's BEPS program looking at how much tax multinationals should be paying, where they should be paying it. Over 130 countries have already signed up to implement those rules. Now, it's also often quoted that in order to undertake that full Pillar 2 calculation, anywhere in the region of 100 to 150 data items per entity or jurisdiction would be needed for that calculation. Now, there's no way of complying with a regime like that without a good handle on data processes, controls, and governance. And I know we're both doing lots of work with clients in this area. We talked a little bit before about who cares about tax governance and why it matters. Well, even just in our jurisdictions, the UK's got the Business Risk Review Plus process, the ATO's got the Justified Trust regime, both of which make that assessment on the levels of good quality tax governance processes and controls. Now, of course, achieving poor results in that area not only reflects badly on the organisation's whole ESG scorecard, but can come with it that much greater scrutiny from the tax administration. And put simply, that's really because, in their view, you're more likely to get stuff wrong without those good quality processes, controls, and governance in place. And we're certainly seeing over here as well in the UK, tax administrations going down that naming and shaming and route for a whole variety of different compliance issues. So, how long is it before poor tax governance is one of those issues? And that would have a huge reputational impact, not just for shareholders, but for customers too, who we know are becoming increasingly discerning about what they buy and who they buy it from.
But this isn't just an issue for big businesses, right?
No, it's not. No, tax governance should be an important consideration for all businesses, whether ESG is a priority area, whether there are potential transactions or investor exits on the horizon, and all the financial due diligence processes that come with that, aside from, of course, those day-to-day business benefits and efficiencies that come with good tax governance. We're also seeing, an increasing focus on corporate responsibility through things like the corporate criminal offence in the UK, which is applicable to businesses of all shapes and sizes. It's criminal legislation, specifically designed to put responsibility on businesses to do more to prevent the facilitation of tax evasion, with unlimited court-imposed fines for those in breach of the regime. Now, that's before you factor in the reputational damage of even being involved in an investigation like that. I think those two things, the preventing the facilitation of tax evasion and corporate responsibility more generally, continue to be areas of focus for the OECD. So I'd expect to see further global developments in this area over time. Now, I've touched on a couple of the impacts of not getting this stuff right. What are some of the other implications of poor tax governance, Himi?
That's a really good question. Failure to put this framework together can result in increased scrutiny from your tax authority, which could include a detailed review of your business activities, as well as intense scrutiny of your tax systems, tax processes, as well as your tax controls. This can obviously exhaust any organization's time, costs, as well as resources. Also, if the correct amount of tax is not paid, obviously, you're going to be paying penalties. As you mentioned, there's a reputational impact with any institution. We all understand reputation is key, but where there's no robust framework in place, your governance profile can also have an impact on your reputation, and even go as far as when you do your deals and due diligence as well. For example, how you are viewed can also impact deal processes and pricing and costs, and have a significant issue for those on the exit strategy. So it's obvious if we can, and where possible, to prevent it and manage it effectively. Now, given this, what's next for our listeners?
I think there are a couple of things. So for me, regardless of jurisdiction, of the size of the organisation, there are some really basic principles that stand you in good stead from a tax governance perspective, and not just to tick a box, but because of those tangible business benefits that come from good tax governance too. A good starting point for that is having a coherent tax policy or strategy that sets out the business's approach to taxation, with documented tax processes and a really structured approach to both the identification and management of tax risks, having a clear escalation route to board as appropriate. And of course, importantly, the control framework that you have in place to help you mitigate those risks is tested to make sure it's working as anticipated, with transparency throughout being crucial. And to summarise and to finalise, I think ESG and tax are so closely aligned now, and understanding how tax can help you achieve your ESG goals will really benefit your organisation. We hope you found this video useful. As a reminder, you can also watch the other videos in the series about environmental taxes and reliefs around the world. So start a conversation in your organisation. How well are you doing some of this stuff? What more can you be doing? Get involved and add value to the ESG agenda through tax, because tax should be seen as a value driver and not a cost center.